The Game Awards are meant to be a time for celebration and recognizing all the talent that is in this industry. A time where we see all the good games we have gotten, where we get hints at the great games to come. Yet each year, it seems people online give a bigger and bigger backlash to the awards. I'm just a curious skeleton, and I wanted to give my perspective on this year's Game Awards. What I liked, what I disagreed with, and what I think should be changed. A lot of years, a vocal part of the internet screams about the lack of good game announcements. And while some years I do find this part lackluster, this year definitely was not one of them. Let's go into the announcements I am looking forward to. Larian went all out with the reveal of Divinity, showing one of the most intense and grotesque trailers ever at an award show. I have a bit of a history with Divinity, as Divinity Original Sin 2 was the first Larian game I ever played. I've always loved the CRPG genre, and I fell in love with that game. It made me a fan of Larian. It is what got me to hop on Baldur's Gate 3 immediately when it entered early access. Of course, Baldur's Gate 3 then became another gem that then blew through the stratosphere past Divinity. That being said, I've always still preferred the world of Divinity Original Sin and its characters by a bit, meaning this is big news to me. I really can't wait to dive into it with friends. The next big one I'm ready for is Control Resonant. I've been working my way through Remedy's catalog, and I've become a very big fan. So far I've done Alan Wake, Quantum Break, American Nightmare, and Max Payne 1. I'm having such a great time, especially with the narratives and characters, so this sequel to Control is just giving me even more motivation to continue through their lore. The last big one for me is Gang of Dragon. I'm a big Yakuza fan. I've played all their mainline games, Man Who Erased His Name and the Pirate one also. It's a series I have lots of ups and downs with, and while I really liked 7 and enjoyed Infinite Wealth, I ultimately was missing the more serious parts of the series over the very cartoony way the series is going. It has always been over the top, don't get me wrong, but I can just roll my eyes and chuckle when Kiryu dodges a missile. Majima actively having a whole plot set in motion by a giant squid just makes me take things way less seriously, however. So with Gang of Dragon being by Nagoshi and starring Dong Seok, and looking like it's gonna back to a more serious tone with the same over-the-top moments, it really gives me a lot of hope. Other stuff that I'm interested in or have some hope for are Star Wars, Fate of the Old Republic, Ontos, Stupid Never Dies, No Law, and Screamer. While some of these don't have release dates, a good portion are set for 2026, so I have a lot of hope for the next year of gaming. To get into dislikes, I saw a lot of people mad at the Expedition 33 sweep, and while I can understand frustration at your favorite game not winning, especially with all the giants this year, a lot of people were going way too hard, especially attacking the game and the devs. If you want to criticize the judges in the show, go for it. The Expedition 33 did not hold them hostage and forced them to give them awards. This was a team full of brilliant creatives with love for the industry, a team full of passion, determined to make something. They deserve pretty much all the rewards. The only one I really disagree with is Best RPG. The term is very broad, and they do fit the category, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 does deserve its flowers for that particular aspect more, in my opinion. It can still be the better overall game, and not be the best RPG. This year was a lot of Souls-likes, and to be honest, I think I'm just getting tired of the genre at this point. But most of those just aren't for me. There's also just way too many gacha commercials thrown in there during the second half of the show. Lower your prices a bit, Joff, so we can get some variety. The last game reveal was by far the most disappointing. God knows I don't need another hero shooter type game. But besides those few things, I honestly didn't disagree or dislike much. While the second half of this year's show was somewhat boring, it is much better than plenty of the previous years. It was an overall solid show. As for things I would change about the Game Awards, I do have a couple. For starters, it is an award show, and yet there's a good number of awards that are just sped run through, and don't even get any speeches. Even if some have shorter times, let every award get presented properly, and let the devs have a word or two. It's meant to be about them. I shouldn't see like 3 awards get announced quickly, one after another, before getting hit with a gotcha ad. I love indie games, especially ones made by solo devs or very small teams. There are so many projects full of passion that are a handful or less of people fighting to put their work out into the world. More indie categories should be added, that are focused on smaller indie games and teams. Indie is such a giant ocean in the industry now that we can have indie games that are still way below any AAA game that are also then the same distance bigger than the majority of indie games. Just add a reward or two for teams under 10 people in the dev team or something. This is not to take away from the bigger teams. I just would like there to be a way to spread more recognition, even for the smallest of creators. The last big thing I would change is I am truly tired of games being announced that are so far away from being out that half of them are never heard of again or are still not out almost a decade later. Cough, Elder Scrolls cough. Why the fuck did I do it like that? I'm not cutting that. I was supposed to actually cough there, which is right in the script, and I just, didn't. If you want teasers of games far out, maybe do it in the pre-show or something. I would have the main show mainly be announcements of games that are most likely coming out in the next 2 years. And I only say most likely because you never know what can happen in development and push the time back. I think these changes would make the show even more fun. I feel more like the love letter it should be. That wraps up my thoughts on the Game Awards and what I would change. My advice is also to ignore all the terminally online people saying crazy stuff about any of the nominees. Most of them think stuff like art direction equals graphics. They're not worth your time. While I don't think the Game Awards are perfect by any means, I always look forward to them and like what they represent. I also think Joff does a fairly decent job. I'm just a curious skeleton, and I will see you next time.